Great day, everyone. Ed Dudley coming at you again. I am excited to be in the Ubuntu house with my girlfriend. Hey, Charmaine, how you doing?
I'm Fab, my boyfriend. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. I tell everyone anytime I'm 6 feet above ground is a good day. And I thank God that I'm still here because I got a lot of stuff I still want to accomplish and help people and serve people and just have amazing conversations as well with people across the globe. What about you?
Well, that's a great attitude. I feel the same way. Serving people is what we do. It's been a great day. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening actually. So
Ooh.
it's almost past my bedtime, but I'm going to keep the energy up because we have a fabulous woman in the house. I'm not going to mention her name. Yeah, I think she's fabulous for multiple reasons. She has a great
Mm.
story. She's truly is a girl on fire. She's an author of Girl on Fire. And she does great work on so many levels. I'm not even going to speak any more about her. I think we should
Well,
just bring her into the
let's
house.
let's just bring her into the house.
Hmm.
Hey, Tivania, how are you doing?
Hello,
Hi,
T.
Dr. Hello. Lovely to be chatting to you.
Oh, it's so fab
Pleasure's
to
all
have you in the
ours.
house. I was just saying, you truly are the girl on fire. And I'm not sure how my boyfriend's going to handle double trouble today because it's going to be quite 60 minutes. So let's get this started.
I'm not gonna say a word. I'm gonna leave that one
This is where
alone.
this is where you have to actually. Um, so, so Ed, you can
Yeah,
get
it's
started.
so Tivania. I read some things about you. I tend to look up the guests that we're gonna bring on the show, and I sat back and was just amazed hearing your story. Very powerful story, a story of resilience and overcoming just so much, and then taking what you've been through and going out to serve others and build and strengthen others. And I'd love for you to just share a little bit of your story, who you are, how you got to where you are right now, and then we'll jump in with all types of different questions after that.
Sure. Thank you so much. That was a very beautiful introduction. So I think my story started probably 8 years ago when I had a failed suicide attempt. 8 years ago, around this time, I was actually starting with the depression, or closer to my birthday, which is in a couple of days. I had a series of life events that were really, really traumatic, and it compounded into really severe depression. And on the 3rd of June 2014, I had a failed suicide attempt. And that was a catalyst for me to really take stock of my life and to begin the transformation journey. Anyone that knows that process of transformation will understand that it is the hardest thing ever to do, but it is the thing that has made me become this fiery woman and something that I'm incredibly proud of. So, some of the stuff that I had dealt with was rape when I was 18 years old. I had been in a situation with intimate partner violence. I had struggled with my mental health issues for over 20 years. I've had two divorces, three miscarriages. So, the list of stuff of life experiences was so huge that it really was going to take me out. And there's no other way that I could euphemize that. Depression was ready to take me out. But my story is such that the tenacity of the human spirit is bigger than we can ever understand. So the work that I do now is to create those conversations that matter, to destigmatize the things that we don't talk about, especially coming from the Indian community or the brown girl community. It is incredibly hard to speak about the taboo stuff, but I do it unashamedly because I truly believe that mine is a voice that will resonate with people and would be able to give other people permission to do the same.
Tivania, you really do it unashamedly, I must say, because I have the greatest admiration and respect for you. Because what you've been through and the way you land your messages with so much courage. I mean, I've been through a little bit of not as much as you've been through. We all have a story. I'm yet to be able to speak about it. So hats off to you, and I'm so proud of um, what you actually do, though. But I'm even more proud of you because you focus on healing men.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about that and why you focus on that aspect of healing.
It actually culminated with me doing the work on myself. So I think we are a society that is so hell bent on looking at the symptoms of bad behavior, the symptoms of the violence, the symptoms of the addiction. And for me, that is just a manifestation of what is unhealed, the pathology that's unhealed. So I look at the cause, what provokes a man to react in a violent way, what provokes a man to get into all sorts of addictive traits like alcoholism or drug abuse or whatever. And the 95% of the time it is unhealed pathology. It is stuff that we don't allow men to express. We don't allow men to be vulnerable. Those are the important stuff that we need to actually be tackling in order to eradicate gender-based violence, in order to start the healing process. I mean, I sit on an executive committee for global mental health, and the work that we do there is so transformative because we're a group of lived experience experts. The rate of suicides in men is 1 in 4.
Mm.
And it's 4 times higher than that of women. And we've seen that in the recent spate of suicides with some of our celebrities in South Africa. And the reason is because we need to change the template. We need to redefine masculinity. So in that way, when you save our boys, we inadvertently save our girls. And that is the focus for me, is to deal with the cause, to look at the cause, and to basically use my life as a way to start that conversation that we're all humans, we all struggle with the same pain, we have the same pathology, and when we are able to then look at that and bring all of that into the light is the only time that we're going to be able to heal, really deal with the stuff that we need to be dealing with.
Oh, I just love you. I love the way you transformed, actually, because it's not
Inspired.
easy. And to forgive. Forgiveness is such a beautiful thing, and you demonstrate it. Once you forgive and release, you'll be able to heal yourself and heal people that actually need healing. And that's how we'll change
But
society.
absolutely. But I became as sick as my secrets. My secrets
Yeah.
were kept hidden for 15, 18 years. I mean, this was only when my book was released 4 years ago that I was able to talk about it. I never gave myself permission. I was terrified. I was ashamed. I was, afraid of the judgment. I had 2 children to think about in terms of hearing all of that sordid stories. But it was a thing that actually propelled me to become this woman and to be the voice for the voiceless. So it is something that really liberated me, that helped me in my healing journey and continues to help me. It's not the easiest thing because I do get flack, I do get a lot of haters, especially from Indian community, even within our own family, kind of. People that are not ready to look at their own shit, so to speak. But it is because my story will hold a mirror to you. And if you're not ready to face your own demons, then obviously the fear is going to be the thing.
Tivania,
That was,
you said so much in such a short amount of time. I mean, I'm sitting over here writing down a lot of stuff that you've talked about. Talked about healing men. I think you hit a nail on the head that our men need to be healed. Our men need a space to unload and unpack. The analogy that I use with a lot of men is, if we all remember the image of Atlas with the world on his shoulder and carrying that weight, that's what a lot of men are doing, carrying a lot of that weight, whether it's from trauma, from childhood, or whatever it was. And there's never been really a space for men to unpack that. We talked about mental health. We all saw, recently what happened with Mr. Will Smith. I think it was bigger than what we really realized. I think it was something around his mental health that caused him to do that, because that was really out of character from what we've seen in history over him. You talked about we're not ready to face some of us are not ready to face our demons, and your book came out. What was the moment that you decided, you know what, I'm ready to unpack all this myself, put it on paper to be published for the world to see?
So I had written, or I had been contemplating writing a book for 5 years before I actually did it. I was so terrified of, having to have that story out there. I was terrified of what, people would say or think about me. But I had a very significant life event when my book was published. And it was actually the catalyst for me to channel all of that pain and energy into something that really was, it basically took a life of its own. When you talk about athletes being in a state of flow, when they get into that that mode.
Momentum.
The zone, yeah.
Yeah, I was in a zone. I literally wrote my book in 2 weeks. From
Wow.
beginning to end,
Wow.
it was done in 2 weeks. Yeah. So all of that energy was just channeled.
Was it therapeutic for you?
Absolutely. It was absolutely therapeutic, and it was a way of me being able to honor my own journey, something that was a radical act of self love. My intention was never about sales, it was never about becoming an award-winning author or best-selling author. It was always about impact and being able to honor myself and not be ashamed of my story, because we all have a story, right? Every single one of us have a story, and it does not define us. It does shape us, but it does not define us. And I think that was the most important thing for me, that I could say that I've been through a succession of really horrendous traumatic things, but come out through the fires of purification and so.
Say it again, darling, please. I just missed that.
Come through the fires of purification and so.
That's powerful. I needed people to hear that.
We could probably be on this call, on this session for a couple of hours, unpacking so much. I just want to unpack a little bit, if it's okay with you. You talked about in 2014 the failed suicide attempt. There are countless people right now that are contemplating suicide. There might be someone that when this airs, you'll see it or hear it, contemplating suicide. What was that moment like? You said it was a failed. I believe it was a divine interruption, because you were here for more than you actually knew. You were here for purpose. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then talk to someone that might be going through some traumatic experiences, that it's not the end. There's life on the other side, and there's actually a better life on the other side.
Absolutely. So if my story does anything, it tells you that sometimes what you imagine for yourself, or where you find yourself, is not the end. It is actually the beginning. What I've achieved in the last few years have surpassed even the wildest dreams I could have had for myself. I always dreamed of being a writer. I never thought that I would have a book or become an international speaker or win an award for it. But more than that is the fact that I get to change lives through the story. And that for me is an intangible thing. So where I was 8 years ago, it wasn't really even about wanting to die. It was not being able to live with the pain. The pain was absolutely enormous. And I think that we don't understand, unless we've actually been in that position, what it feels like to wake up with no energy and to be in perpetual emotional pain every single day. It is the most difficult thing for me to be able to get out of bed and to get into a shower or to get into my car or take care of my children was an exhaustive process. And I felt that life was done with me. I felt that I was a failure in every sense of the word. And even though I had 2 children to think of, I didn't believe that I could ever bring anything good into their life except shame. So my feeling was that there was absolutely nothing that I could do that would be able to redeem myself. There was nothing that I could do to escape the pain, because I had struggled with the pain for 20 years. But at the same time, the thing that was able to save me was love and kindness. And you talk about divine intervention, it is absolute providence that the way that the story unfolded, it is literally magical, because I had planned to drive myself off of a bridge in Johannesburg that's notorious for people having accidents that are fatal. And when I got onto the road that June evening, I completely blacked out. I had no idea how I felt, as if my car was being carried, and it was placed in front of my driveway, and I had absolutely no recollection of how I got there. And I know that when I was driving, the cars were hooting around me because I was at breakneck speed. And that was a huge God moment for me. And the very next day when I got to work, my intention was, I'm going to execute it. I'm going to literally, today's the day that it's going to happen. And my manager at the time was a woman that I actually never had a good relationship with. And she gave me the first extension of love. She cornered me and she said to me, I know that something's up with you, and we are going to get you the help that you need, and you're going to speak to someone that's going to be able to, help you, and just have a conversation. So I reacted in true Tivania form, and I told her to F off, but she didn't. She didn't. So that's characteristic, and I used to do that. It was, telling people to F off was a standard thing to.
I did just tell you double trouble, right? So it's
now I know why.
But I think we're so accustomed to turning away or looking away when we see people suffering, because we don't know how to react. But a simple extension of love and kindness was a lifeline that I needed, because she was the catalyst for the next steps that put me in touch with an organization that deals with personal development. And over a 3-day workshop, my life changed forever. It was 3 days of an intense process of transformation that happens at a visceral level for me. I got to work on the Monday, resigned from work immediately, a corporate career, and I was full throttle with wanting to live this life of fulfilling my dream of being a writer. And everything else happened by default after that. But I think the one thing that's really important for people that are struggling is that there's absolutely no shame in reaching out or asking for help. And I think that what the last 2 years has taught us with COVID is that, life is extremely unpredictable, and we experience pain and suffering the exact same way. So, if you are struggling, reach out to someone that you can trust. And on the flip side, if you notice someone struggling, or if you see someone, demonstrating signs of struggle or pain, don't look away. Don't look away. Reach out, say something, do something. Even if you don't have the language for it, offer a hug, offer a cup of coffee, whatever it could be. Don't look away, because that is the one thing. Being seen was the thing that I needed to free myself. And with a group of strangers, I was finally given permission to articulate the truth that I was, suppressing and suffocating for years. And when I was able to express my truth, and we all know our truth, because it is there like a white noise in the background that we try to drown out all of the time, it never goes away. It manifests as illness, addiction, depression, whatever it may be, violence, right? But if you give someone permission to be able to speak their truth, that is the thing that will set them free.
Oh, that's so powerful, actually. And thank you for actually sharing that, T. Because you said so many beautiful things, actually. And just the reason I advocate for love and kindness, because I understand personally as to what a difference and impact it actually makes in people's lives. And it's free, actually. Every single one have it within us to be able to give love and kindness. And more importantly, and you've said that at the beginning, self-love is critical for healing and transformation. Because often when you go through this phase of being touched, being raped is makes you feel like dirty, right?
Yeah.
Most women just blame themselves. And coming from an Indian community, if you love to dance, if you have quite a vocal perspective on life, if you have if you're independent, you are labeled like a person that causes trouble, right? And she asked for it or things of that sort. And I can understand as to why
Yeah.
you didn't expose this at the stage you could have. So
Yeah.
I resonate with what you've actually said. And you said so many beautiful things, darling. But what I am trying to get to state to the world is, if you can lend a hand of love and kindness, you could actually save a life. I mean,
Yeah.
so be the
Absolutely.
ambassadors for love and kindness. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's free. The time that we give and the energy that we give is something that will literally save lives. But it has to start from within. It has to
You must
be.
be,
So it has to start from within for it to manifest without, right? So
yeah.
I was not in a position to receive love. So that is also a factor. I was completely closed off. And anyone that tried to interact with me, I would literally, there was a complete barrier because the pain was so intense inside. And when I had released it and started moving that energy that was stuck in my body, that was the only time that I was able then to receive and in that way fill myself up and then extend it outwards again. And you're talking about the judgment and the shame. I still get that. I mean, I think I'm pretty far gone in my healing journey where I'm not triggered by talking about my rape. I'm not triggered. There's no energy attached to it. But a couple of months ago, someone on LinkedIn on one of my posts said to me that I asked to be raped because of the way that I dress. So I mean, I'm a 41-year-old woman, I'm a mother of two. Nobody gets to tell me how I dress, or nobody gets to dictate what I should look like, or how I should speak, or how I should sanitize it to fit into this template of what it means to be a woman, to be an Indian woman specifically.
So I'm curious, and it's a two part question, depending on what you say. That individual that made that comment, was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
It was a man.
It
So,
was a man.
all right. So you do a lot of work with men,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, there are still a few men out there that have that same mentality. What would you say to those men that think that you asked for it, well, because the way that you dressed, or any other thing without your consent? What would you say to them?
So the first question is actually, it is quite a hard question because it's a very triggering question. But I always say, who hurt you? And that is a very loaded thing, and that will make somebody instinctively want to lash out to me. Because when a man has to behave that way or come at me in that way, it's not a reflection of me. It's a reflection of whatever stuff is going on inside him. And that is a heavy indoctrination of what he was taught. It is not his own beliefs, it is what was fed into him. The person that said it to me was an Indian man. So I know the cultural indoctrination that comes with what it means being a good, decent woman. So revealing, legs and I do that, and I've got 8 tattoos, and I don't give a shit about how it is displayed. That is me.
My wife would like you.
I love you. I love you, girl. Flo has tattoos all down her arms and all. Yeah, you'd love her actually. So
She
yeah,
sounds amazing. She sounds amazing.
She's
she's
all right.
married to this man, so she's okay. I mean,
Absolutely. It's just shocking the narrative that needs to change, right? In every single culture, in with religious indoctrination, and so what he expressed is not stuff that doesn't come from a place of hatred. It comes from a place of programming. So to get down to the root of unbecoming, to get to that root of does those beliefs serve us? Is there truth in it, or is it stuff that you were fed that gave you this perception now that you take out into the world? And later on, we found out that he had grown up in an abusive environment, and so obviously, there were some misogynistic tendencies because it was stuff that he emulated growing up, or had seen basically from the way that his father treated his mother. So it's heavy pathology. It's layers and layers of pathology. I am human, so I react, and I do tell people to F off. But that is the human aspect. The spirit knows the deeper stuff.
I actually don't entertain them. My approach, depending, because I'm very particular as to who I allow into my circle and who
Yeah.
triggers me. So if
Yeah.
you're a nobody, in my opinion, I will not respond to you because I only invest my time and energy with people that matter. And if I see a spark of willingness to change, then you're worthy of my time because there's a desire to change. Because if there's
Yeah.
no desire to change, I will put random posts and things to create the awareness. If that person gets to read it, great. If they don't, it was not intended for them. Because
Yeah.
we can, and Ed, we can put all the energy in wanting to change people. But if, and both of you have said it multiple times on this platform, Ed, and in the previous ones, unless there's an internal willingness to say, hey, there is a problem with me. I need to look at the world differently from a different perspective, and I need to change my behavior. Nothing we say or do is ever going to ignite that change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. But don't dismiss planting a seed. So
No,
that is, yeah.
I do it in ways that would make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I go for the jugular.
No, I used to go for a jugular. Then I had to take 2 bullets. And when I got shot twice, I was like, this fiery woman needs to calm down because I'm not going to be around to take my story out. So the reality is, people want to dim your lights because they can't handle it. And the best way of doing it is to break your spirits. And I've learned the best way of not allowing people to break your spirit is don't give them any time and make them irrelevant in your life and use your energy somewhere else. That's the best way to tackle things. But T, you do amazing work. I mean, I love your fire. I love your perspective. I love the way you land your messages. Just don't waste your time and energy. I'm gonna share a story with you, right? Let's be very honest. Growing up in Indian homes, Indian mothers, and I'm sure these Indian mothers are going to take us both out, put their sons on a pedestal. Like their sons are like, wow, no woman is good enough to marry their son. And my husband has 6 sisters. He's the only boy. I was not good looking enough. I was not worthy enough. They are Hindustanis. I'm Tamil. I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. And that's the narrative they've built in. And I was like, whatever. I even told Ron's mom, you can take your son and keep him in your house and you can look after him. Ron, what do you want? Your mom or me? You decide. And the man's with me, right? So that's the point I'm making. Our Indian moms, and moms in general, if we can focus on humanity and not the external aspects of things and appreciate us for what we really are and not what they want for their sons, all those narratives of inequality really eradicate, actually. All of that starts in our homes. And we're too quick to judge, but we need to change the environment within us to effect the changes we need to. And what's it like in the US?
Well, I think it's
similar.
For certain individuals. It's a little similar. I don't think it's to that extreme. Here, I think we see a lot of people value both sons and daughters. Now I know there's some guys that had a bunch of daughters, and then all of a sudden he has a son. Now that son's really put on the pedestal because he wanted a son, and he had like 5 girls. But I don't see that. And it's interesting, you're talking about the Indian culture. And learning about in other cultures and how they act and how they rear their children and things like that. So it's very intriguing to me because I didn't know that they tend to put their sons on a pedestal.
Oh, they do.
But I knew about how women are not necessarily equal. When I look at and research things in India, you see some of the headlines and some of the things there. I'm sitting here like, wow, like what has caused this culture to prevail in not just India, but a lot of different places of the world. And we talk about, healing on the inside. I think unfortunately, we have, as a whole, a broken society. And it's not just in the States, it's not in India, it's not just in Africa. We have a lot of broken individuals that have not been healed. We don't know what broke them. And a lot of times we don't ask the questions to figure out how can we help them along their healing journey. And I think, mental health over the last few years has gotten a lot of steam behind it, especially with COVID. COVID has exposed a lot of people that are really dealing with mental health issues, and it's no secret. My wife shares about it, how she was seeking some help during COVID, and she literally reached out to a lot of professionals in our area. No one returned her call, and I actually put up notes in the bathroom in the room, like, call somebody, and because she was struggling in the shutdown of the country, and no one called her back. And I spoke to a friend of mine that is a therapist, and she literally said, we're overwhelmed with people coming to us right now, and we have a shortage of mental health therapists and counselors out here in the States. That's a big problem. That's a recipe for disaster. You don't have enough people that are qualified to help someone, and you got a population. Let's just be honest. All of us are dealing with something in our mental health. Some is a little deeper than others, but we all have some mental health challenges, and I think we all need to seek out help from time to time. Just like, we go to get our car tuned up every now and then, we need to go get our bodies tuned up, and not only our mind, but our spirit and our souls as well.
Spirit first, actually. Yeah.
I'm a hands up. Nobody's asked me to ask a question. May I?
No, you may not. I need you to sit in the back of the class.
Well, I'm coming in. I love you too. Talking about mental health. T, and this question is directed to you. Do you believe that you can heal yourself without seeing a therapist or a psychologist, or somebody to speak with?
So this is a highly contentious conversation, because I can only speak from my specific experience, and I'm not dismissing conventional medicine at all.
Sure.
It did not work for me. So I had been on medication. I had been on medication for years. I had been on antidepressants on and off. I had been to counselors, therapists, and it never shifted me, because when you want to effect change, and again, this was my personal journey, right? The cognitive, you can't make the change at a cognitive level, certainly not for me. So what the medication did for me was be an anesthetic and to numb me out. Now, I need to have the full spectrum of my emotions to be able to deal with it and take it up a layer. So if I'm sitting at apathy, I need to be able to feel angry, to be able to release it. When I went through that process, that 3-day workshop, the work that they had done with me happened at a cellular level. Now, obviously, there's a difference between circumstantial depression and things that are actually chemically induced, right?
Yeah.
If you're dealing with a mental illness that's chemical, you have to be on medication. But for me, the work that had happened at a cellular level, the stuff that had happened at a visceral level, was the thing that I was able to release in a way that would have taken years and years and years of cognitive therapy. And so, 8 years on, I have not had one bout of depression since, after struggling for over 20 years. God willing,
That is
touch
awesome.
wood. But yeah, for me, it was a huge thing.
But your perspective, your attitude, you've actually grown. There's more awareness. So you'll know what your trigger points is, and you'll go seek the help if need be, right?
Right, absolutely. And the thing is, getting the help, absolutely, it is essential to speak to someone. But you can't talk about it. You can't deal with the stuff that you keep hidden in the darkness. You have to bring it to the light. The truth is the thing.
I agree with you.
Right? Yeah.
I completely agree with you. But for most, I've never, and Ed knows this, I've never seen a psychologist. I've never seen a therapist. But what I do, and the way I've dealt with my trauma, is I write, actually.
Yeah.
I do write. I listen to music and I meditate, and that has healed me. And I don't live in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very intentional about forgetting. And when I tell it doesn't matter what I've done. It's where I am and where I'm going. But
Yeah.
it's healing, but it's also the career path, it's everything actually. And that has worked for me. Just speaking about my life is not something I choose to do. I probably can do it if I put energy into it, but I choose
Hmm.
not to. Because so many times I've actually seen people externalizing their pain, not in safe spaces, and people
Yeah.
utilize them against them,
Yeah.
and they're afraid to continue that and heal
Mhm.
themselves because of what has happened to them. So it's also
Yeah.
important, and T and Ed, you guys also said it, find spaces that are safe to share.
Mhm.
Find
Mhm.
people that are willing to help you, not
Yeah.
celebrate, pretend to help you, but actually get
Mhm.
joy from their pain that you're feeling. And there's a whole
Yeah.
lot of those around the world, sadly.
Yeah.
I'm talking from
Absolutely.
experience and from a place
Yeah.
of no, because I coach and I deal with a lot of people, and they actually share their why as to why they don't share, why what has happened to them, why it is that the way they are. So T, you've landed so many amazing points actually for our
So
viewer.
absolutely. But I think each of us have our own path and our own journey. For me, it is continuously cathartic when I'm able to express it. And,
Okay.
I am sort of in the public space, and not everybody has to do it that way. If you release it and you cultivate changes within your own family, and you begin a healing process, and you change the way that you parent, that is success. That
Yeah.
is absolute success. So not everyone has to be out there. I mean, from the time that I had the failed suicide attempt, it took me another 4 years. The conversations that I've been having, or the work that I'm doing, is only as recent as 4 years ago when my book got published. It was not, I had an intense journey of continuous healing, and that journey is ongoing. I mean, there are layers and layers and layers of the healing. So I'll give you a silly example, right? I am twice divorced, and I've had a succession of the very not so nice relationships, because our most intimate relationships are extremely important and reveal to us the stuff that needs more healing. And so I think that I'm totally fine, and I'm, perfectly happy, and I'm healed and I'm sorted. And then you bring an intimate partner in front of me. And because there's so much of emotional weighting attached to that relationship, I get triggered, and then the relationship ends, and then there's another 5 layers of healing. So the process is really, really ongoing. And I think that relationship between you and your partner, your husband, wife, partner, whatever, it's really important, because that is actually an opportunity for real growth. And it doesn't have to be public. It can just be in that, dynamic of marriage or relationship or whatever. And that's incredibly important, because then you get to continuously heal and do the work separately and together, and make an impact and break the cycles of dysfunction within your family, or for your children rather.
I got, I'm just full. I got a lot of questions, and it will never be able to unpack it all here. But I want to take a couple steps backwards. And you talked about your 3 day retreat, and that was instrumental in putting you on this path that you're on of healing and transformation. Sitting and thinking about those 3 days, what would you say was the aha moment where the light went on and the transformation? It was like that spark that started lighting that fire in you.
I think it was a little bit of that igniting every day. So on the first day, I literally felt as if my guts were on the floor. It was the hardest thing. I literally cried, without exaggeration, for 6 hours. And one of the facilitators had said to me that when I came in on the Friday, I was the walking dead. I had no life. And those words struck me, and it's never left me, because it was an acute representation of exactly what I was like, completely lifeless. And so that feedback was the thing that, made me look at myself, right? And, what kind of life is this that I was living? I mean, obviously, I had a failed suicide attempt 2 days before. But, you know, there were little things. I mean, the first day, it was the permission to speak my truth. That was a huge thing for me. And the freedom that and the liberation that came from being able to say the things that I had kept frozen, you know, and that was sort of rotting inside me, so to speak, and festering inside me. And that was the freedom and the liberation was such a huge thing for me that I literally got physically sick because of that energy that had left my body talking about everything, because I was given the freedom and a sacred space to be able to speak. And the rest of the participants were everyone that had quite a hectic journey. So there was no shame. Everyone was there for a reason. Everyone was there to heal. And so every one of us, we were divinely held and supported in that space. And we were literally held and given the permission to be able to have that kind of breakthrough. Um, on the Sunday, quickly, I'm going to just tell you a story about how Girl on Fire came to be. On the Sunday, when the process was finished, the facilitators dedicate a song to each participant. And the song that was dedicated to me or representative of me was called Girl on Fire by Alicia Keys. And
Oh, darling!
yes, exactly. It was
Did you
exactly
see?
that.
Did you see my post on you recently? Because that's the song I dedicated to you, actually. How ridiculous is that? But anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, it's everything is related to everything else, right? It's just
So
the
good.
synchronicity is just beautiful. Yeah. So that is where the title of the book came in, because that was where the spark, incidentally, the spark was always there. It was always there. It was just diminished, and it
It
just
was just
needed
a,
the one, yeah, to
you
ignite
just
myself.
needed that safe space to
Yeah.
actually offload. That's the point, actually. You need to find those safe spaces to be able
Yeah,
to feel free enough to share,
yeah,
to be
yeah,
able to heal.
And that's a big problem. A lot of people can't find a safe space. They don't know
mhm,
where to go. They don't know where to
mhm,
start to find a safe place. So I started a men's group. A couple of friends of mine, we started a men's group to have a safe space for men to actually talk and unpack stuff. We had a meeting on last night, and I'm listening to the men just like, yeah, we don't have a space where we can share and like just share our hearts, share what's in our spirits and what we're struggling with. And I think every person, men, women, I don't care if you're a young child, I don't care if you're 80, 90 years old, we all need that space that we can sit down, exhale, and feel
mhm,
safe. Not judged, knowing
Yeah.
that whatever you share, is not going to leave that space, but it's just
mhm,
a space that, that it's like a nice tight hug. We've all been
mhm.
embraced, hugged by someone at one point in our life, and you're just like melted and like, it's like I'm resting now. And I think we all need that type of space, and it's my desire that everyone finds that space, because it's so needed.
Absolutely. So I think that's the reason that I am so candid with my story. I don't have to share my story all of the time. I don't have to tell 15 different versions of a rape story. But I do, because one new person would be able to read that and through my story give them permission to be vulnerable. That is the biggest way that I connect with people, because if you have to go in, and if I was an academic, if I was a psychologist, that's speaking from a cognitive level, it's very difficult to connect with someone at that level. No offense to psychologists, right? But when you have a human story, when you have a
Yeah.
human story, and through my own story and being able to share what I had gone through, that immediately breaks down the barriers and allows people to breathe easy. It allows them to exhale and say me too. And that is a huge thing for me.
You said such a powerful thing, team. I mean, this is the reason we actually have the Ubuntu Connected platform. It's to tell the vulnerable, real stories, because that's how
Yeah,
people connect and ignite
yeah,
that spark or that intent or that desire. So the goal is, if your story could land with one person and change and impact their lives, then we've achieved, as the three of us on this
Yeah.
platform right now, achieved what we set out to. T, I want to
yeah.
take you to a space, because I'm a mom too, right? You had two kids. I can only imagine what you were feeling to not prioritize them and to wanting to actually take your own life.
Yeah.
You know, often we judge people like, how could they? How stupid were they to take their lives because they have a family too? And just hearing your unbearable pain, just verbalizing, it makes me realize how selfish the world is to judge people that take their lives. We shouldn't be judging, we should be creating those safe spaces. And it's an opportunity for us to probably start more places in towns and cities where people could feel safe to get there, to share their stories and get the support and need. I think most people don't know where to go. Or if they have shared before, people have actually utilized it against them to benefit themselves, and therefore they choose not to no longer share. So yeah, how did you, once you've healed and once you've been through that therapy and once you became the girl on fire, you were always there, it was just like awakened within. What was the first thing you did when you saw your kids? Like, how did you feel? Like, was it weird, or like, I don't know what I'm asking, but I hope you get
Was it different?
the point up. Was it different?
It was different. It was very different because, by my own admission, I was a piss-ass mother. I was physically there, but I was completely disconnected. The relationship with my daughter was very strained. We had a very difficult relationship because I was in so much of pain. I was 20 years old when I had her. I was a kid. I did not know what it meant to be parented, let alone be a mom, right? So we had to go through our own process of healing, and it took a very long time. Now she's my best friend, and we are, inseparable. And the way that I learned to parent is to let go of the stuff that I was taught defines a good mother. So the one that is always cooking and I'm not that. I'm not a domesticated cat. There is no chance. I will rather give the love and be present for my children every day.
I have to share.
I'm preaching to the choir.
When you're not a domesticated cat. So my son lives out of the country, so I went to visit him. He shares with his friend. You're like, when my dad's around, I'm never hungry.
No.
I'll buy you food. So yeah. So what he's trying to say, T and I are not the typical Indian domesticated woman. She really is a girl on fire. And we actually...
I'm twice divorced, so that will tell you. I'm twice divorced. I can't fit into that template of being a good Indian wife. It just...
No. It's
so
like...
the gender things don't work, right? This gender stereotype of what defines a woman and what defines a man. You were talking about how Indian mothers raise their kids. I don't subscribe to that. So I'm not going to be there to cook and serve my husband. There's no chance, right? Which is why I'm now twice divorced. But for me, it is now breaking that ideation and, instilling different things for my children. So, my daughter's, if you think that I've got a fiery personality, she is levels, right? And she is bodacious and she's got an opinion and she will... I've taught her to be that way, right? To be unapologetic about who she is. My son, on the other hand, is sensitive and he's gentle. And I don't subscribe that a boy has to be this way and a girl has to be this way. Or, my son washes dishes at 11 years old. He will make us dinner if he needs to. He will make us tea if he needs to. There's no predefined roles. And I think when we start changing all of that, that would go a long way to healing and taking off the pressure, because in the same way, a lot of our men are struggling because the financial pressure of taking care of the family exclusively is on them. And I am solid on partnership. I don't want a man to come in and take care of me financially. We take care of each other. We share responsibilities fully, right? But there are some religious and cultural indoctrination that still prescribes that way of being. That a woman's job is to cook, clean, and take care of the family, and a man's job is to pay for everything. And when you have a huge life event like COVID that breaks down that, structure, what in the hell do you do then? So you have to be able to be fluid in who you are.
You know, it's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. I had a conversation with a gentleman that lost his job during COVID, and he was the major breadwinner of the family. And it wreaked havoc on his psyche because I'm the man. I'm supposed to be the provider. And he went down this dark journey that took a while to get pulled out because here I am, I lost my job. I can't take care of my family like society says I'm supposed to take care of my family. I'm not that provider anymore. So my manliness is gone. Not realizing that it's more than money to be a man, to be a father, to take care of your family. But mentally, the way our society has been set up across the globe, that men, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. Sometimes life events happen, and we have no control of that. And I think I agree with you where we do need to knock down some of these barriers of these gender stereotypes that women are supposed to do this and men are supposed to do this, because that in itself could be a major mental health problem. Where you talk about you don't cook, you're not domesticated, it's fine. But a man is like, well, you don't cook, you don't do this, you don't do that, because he's been wired a certain way. And then you're going to get depending on the woman, if it's not a strong woman, she's going to mentally take that in and be dealing with it a certain way. Whereas a strong woman probably, hit him in his head and is like, get out of here. I'm not going to be dealing with you right now. So go away. But I mean, I think that's a whole nother conversation. I think society as a whole, we really need to have, because I think it will take a lot of pressure off both men and women if we knock down those barriers.
But I will say that women have a huge part to play in that conversation. And this is where I'm very strong and very straight with women because, in South Africa, it's become a commercialized thing. It's actually an attractive thing for a man to take care of a woman, for an older man to have a trophy girlfriend or trophy partner, to be able to then take care of her financially. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
So the reason why I'm laughing, so my wife and I, when we got together, my wife's a little younger than me. I kept calling her my trophy wife. She hated it. I'm not your trophy wife, unless you are. She's good. She's absolutely gorgeous, and I know she's gonna listen to it. But I kept calling her my trophy wife, and she's like, if you don't stop doing that, I wish to introduce her like, this is my trophy wife, just as a joke. She couldn't stand it. So needless to say, after some heated conversations on her end, she's not my trophy wife anymore. She still is, just not in public.
Yeah.
You guys made such you landed some important points, right? With the whole mental health issue and COVID, because many people have lost their jobs. In South Africa, the unemployment rate is sitting at around 46.
Yeah.
46 is that you'll hear 36, but there's the way the data is analyzed, we're not going to unpack it here, but the reality is sitting in excess of 46%. So if you think about it, many men have lost their lives. And I know men, and the mental health is beyond, I can't even explain it. I think T could explain it better than I can. It's in dire need of attention, women and men, because it puts an added burden on the family, finances, and all of that. I personally know of 2 men that felt so hopeless that they actually took their lives because the policies would have paid out for the family to have a better financial position. And they were not supported by their wives. Because when you're in that situation, all you need to know is, I'm here with you. We're going to get through this together, and together we can make it. And if we have that mental assurance, you will put the energy into it to do whatever it takes to see this phase through. And that's what we actually need to remember as human beings. We have everything within us to be able to see certain phases through. We must be able to actually ask people for help and support. And we must be able to do the work to get us through it. because it's never the end, T. I mean, you've come out from a position where were you in the brink of committing suicide, and look at you now, this girl on fire, feminine rising, impacting so many lives. Imagine if you left us, we would not be having this conversation. Your kids would have been without an amazing, beautiful mother, and they're so proud of all that you've achieved. So to everybody listening out there, it may feel like the end of the world, and I can relate to it when I was like 19 and 20, but it's never the end. And as you said, it's the start for what you're going to do to change the trajectory of your life. And it is truly in our hands.
And I will, echo everything that you just said, but don't underestimate the power of looking at someone and ask them, is there something I can help you with? Do you need help? Because Tivania, you talked about your boss that you didn't have a great relationship with, but she said, I'm there for you. I'm going to help you. So imagine if we really, as humanity, every day woke up and was like, can I serve somebody? Can I help someone? And kept that on in their spirit. Life for so many other people will continue to exist and be a little bit better.
And as T said, people want to be seen. You know what? Personally, people will think I'm crazy. I greet everybody. I hug people in the street and they wonder whether I'm crazy. And yes, I am crazy, but I'm good crazy. If we can actually just just give more love into the world with no expectations, give more kindness, we could really, really make a difference in this world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, the one thing that stands out for me, or the one thing that I, am a testament to, or that I advocate, is that we are all love and we are just walking each other home. Every single one of us is love, right? And we have the obligation to find out how we demonstrate our experience of love into the world. The way that you put your love out is different from the way Ed puts his out, the way that I put mine out. But in essence, the essence of who we are, our soul is love, right? And our job is to be in service of each other, to be able to walk us home. That is effectively what it is. One person did it for me, right? She extended herself to me through love, and it is my obligation now to pay that forward. That is what
you do. You do it beautifully. When you spoke those words, T, I actually have chills going to my body. It had such an impact in my body. So I just hope it lands. And it was so beautifully stated, actually.
Thank you.
T, is there? Okay, Ed, I'm just feeling chilly. You go ahead and ask.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
T, I mean, this has been phenomenal. You've landed so many beautiful, powerful statements. What else do you want to actually share? Do you think it's important to land as you're finding your final closeout points?
So, I think that around us, it is evident how people are struggling. People are really, really struggling. And as I said before, we all just want to be seen. And I think the one thing that we need to be mindful of is that, we have this power inside us, this enormous spirit that will transcend anything that life throws at you. And I think, for me, ruin was the greatest gift that I was ever given. Crisis was the greatest gift I was ever given. Because from there, I could sift through the shit, right, and have a look at what was left behind. And what was left behind was absolute magic. And it is in that process of transforming that magic into something real and tangible and reconnecting with who I truly am that I'm able to now fulfill my purpose. And every single one of us has the ability to live that. I mean, my list of failures were very long, very, very long. And I was basically relegated to failure category by everyone that knew me. And I had to be my own advocate. So sometimes you need to start with that love for yourself, honoring yourself, and knowing that you are worth much more than any of the stuff that's happening around you.
Oh my God, that is like wisdom beyond. I block out the noise. Whatever people say, say it. I'm not hearing. And it's not arrogance. It's about loving yourself to know you're on this path and you need to look after yourself before you be able to give love to the world. Oh, T, that was flipping amazing. I love you, right? You are truly magical. And you walk
be right back.
And you walk this earth. Oh, thank you, my angel. This is where you can say I love you both.
I mean, I'm sitting over here just like, um, I got a piece of paper full of notes over here. Just so many things that you said, and I'm like, yes, but yes, I do love you both. Thank you for
We had to
your
pull it out
openness
of him.
to share stories. As a man, I want to apologize because men have perpetrated so much on women over the years. So as a man, I apologize. I'm sorry on behalf of all the men out there. If no man has ever said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. My mission and my goal in life is not only to serve people, but to make amends for some of the things that we as men have done. And that's to help other men and help women that have gone through things like you. Because there is another side. You are a walking testimony. There is another side of all the things that you've been through. And the thing that you said that I'm gonna probably sit on for a while is like, we are all loved and just walk each other home. That was absolutely powerful for me because we are all love. And I think at our core, all of us want to be loved. We all want to be loved. So I just thank you. I love your spirit. I love your story, the way you frame it. I thank God for you. I thank God for your transformation and all of that. I could go on just talking to you and just learning and just sharing. You're so full of wisdom and knowledge, and keep up the amazing work that you're doing. We got a long way to go in our society as a whole, and we need more champions like you out there.
We are the change. Thank you. Thank you.
We definitely are. And it's not for you to apologize, actually. Whoever's listening to it, I hope it creates an awareness within them to go, if you are responsible for hurting, ask yourself why and make a promise to yourself to stop doing it and seek the help they need.
Yeah.
So, I just want to say, T, I love you to the moon and back. You're just such an incredible soul. You truly are a phenomenal woman. And I'm just grateful for the work that you do and the love that you pour into the world. And your spirit and your resilience and your strength is just, I don't know, I'm blown away by it. On that note, I just want to say, my boyfriend, thank you for holding the space with me.
Yeah.
Love and light, everybody. And
Love and light.
thanks, T. You're
Thank
incredible.
you. It was an
I
absolute
love you.
pleasure.
And there's my
Love
hand.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. This has been another Ubuntu Connected podcast. We love you all, love and light. And once again, we are all love and just walking each other home. Have a great day, evening, or morning, wherever you are.